And then the second is selling to pain. We don't sell to pain. People don't buy because companies don't buy because they're in pain. People don't go to the doctor because they're in pain. The change comes when the situation is untenable or heading to untenable. And if you can't determine that at the beginning, you probably don't have a qualified opportunity. We've overcomplicated it, but it really is that simple. If I can't close my books in time to do my financial reporting, that is an untenable situation. Now, it may be something that we've been able to figure out or work through for years, but now I can't get my books closed. I can't report to my financials.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Growth and Conversions podcast. I've been speaking with many of you lately, and honestly, even I face this challenge myself. The biggest struggle in sales right now is figuring it out the right decision maker and getting the correct engagement who matters the most. Today, I've been joined by Mr. Mike Murford, who brings over 30 years of experience in sales. He's been recognized as top 50 sales influencers on LinkedIn. He has worked across enterprise as well as fast-growing SaaS startups, generating over 500 millions in revenue. He's a founder of Calm Ocean Sales, where he offers a fractional CRO service. Welcome, Mike. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Meg. I appreciate it. It's nice to join you. I appreciate the introduction. Yeah, so I'm now 3 years into my own consultancy. As you mentioned, it's called Calm Ocean Sales, and I distinguish myself as a VP of Sales as a service. So similar to how you would buy a SaaS solution, you can license me and my services as a point solution to solve a singular problem in your go-to-market, anywhere from lead to renewal, or as an actual head of sales for a period of time. And then there's a variety of roles, functions, and processes that happen, depending upon that role.
Absolutely. I'm so thankful to have you on this show. So let's dive deep straight into the questions. You mentioned that most companies do not have a pipeline problem.
Yes.
They have qualification problems. Can you explain a little bit and also tell us what does the founders and other CROs getting this wrong? What actually they should be looking at?
Yeah. So this is something that I came to several years ago, and it seems to have really confirmed itself. Not just in the last 3 years, working across several companies in different capacities, but in my full-time operational roles before I moved into consulting. And it's this: there's this belief that if I have 3x, 4x, 5x pipeline, 5x quota, right, in pipeline, that's the metric. That's what tells me if I will make my number or not. But the problem is that we've been doing that for over 20 years, and companies aren't making their number because that's not the metric. The metric is in qualified pipeline, or what I prefer to think of as funnel or forecast. So pipeline, you can think of it maybe as the entire, universe of all the deals, or just the what exists before you convert to an SQL, to a sales qualified lead. And what we're talking about is being able to distinguish between a truly qualified opportunity, meaning that I am talking to somebody who can and will buy from me or somebody in the time frame, versus somebody who's investigating or may have a problem, but it's not big enough to solve. And those deals fall to no decision, where the prospect stops talking to us. that's a process problem, not a pipeline problem. Now I'll share this with you, and then I'll pause. I've had two different clients where this really was, full view. One was we discovered that 90%, 90 of the pipeline was not qualified. We had to take it down, scrub it, start over again, which we did in 6 weeks. We rebuilt it in 6 weeks with qualified pipeline and a process. And then another client where it was 70%. And by the way, those are very difficult conversations to have with a CFO. When you say, I'm taking down your pipeline, it's junk. It's not going to close.
So when you mention that, what exactly they should look at to see whether the pipeline is qualified pipeline or not qualified pipeline?
The first signal is age. So I want to know, a sales leader should want to know, what's the average cycle time from qualification, not from lead, from qualification to close, and then compare that to the age of your funnel. If your average sales cycle is 70 days, anything that is, I'll say 3 times, maybe even 2 times, but we'll say 3 times your average sales cycle is immediately suspect. If you have a deal that's over 200 days old, there's a better than good chance that it is not going to close. In fact, it's probably already been lost. So you need to pull those deals out of the funnel, off the forecast right away, and go back and re-qualify them. Even if you're upset, oh no, we're working on it, we're having conversations. It's like, no, unless it's an actual path to the close, you probably don't have a deal. It's a big reality slap, but you have to do that, or you're going to own a bad forecast.
Anything else you want to add?
So then once we've done that, we need to get into the hard questions, right? And I know this is one of the things we're going to talk about. So the first thing that we need to understand is what happened. And so in a B2B sale, this is very important, and I learned this 2017. I've done this process across a dozen companies now. In B2B, in a qualified deal, there is a catalyst or a trigger event, meaning something broke or is going to break, and I have to take action. If you're outbounding and somebody takes a meeting, in order for it to be qualified, there has to be an understanding of what happened, that they agreed to set time on their calendar to talk to you. If it's inbound, we need to understand what happened, that they even bothered to reach out to you, to come to your website, whatever. And the reason for that, and this goes back to I think the first question, we were taught to sell to pain. So the 2 things that we have got to change in sales, in Mike's opinion, one is the idea of a 3x, 4x, 5x pipeline. It's false. You have a sales process issue if you need 5x pipeline, if that's your answer. And then the second is selling to pain. We don't sell to pain. Companies don't buy because they're in pain. People don't go to the doctor because they're in pain. The change comes when the situation is untenable or heading to untenable. And if you can't determine that at the beginning, you probably don't have a qualified opportunity. We've overcomplicated it, but it really is that simple. If I can't close my books in time to do my financial reporting, that is an untenable situation. Now, it may be something that we've been able to figure out or work through for years, but now I can't get my books closed. I can't report to my financials to my investors. Full stop. I got a problem. I have to solve it right now. That's what we're looking for, as just one example.
Mhm. So is this what you were mentioning about some 4W framework? Can you elaborate it? You were talking about 4W framework. Can you elaborate
Sure.
specifically?
I've talked about this and I write about this often. So, in the very first thing that we have to do is we have to actually qualify a deal. Processes like BANT, ANIM, MEDIC, SPICed do not qualify a deal. They don't.
Is it?
And this all started from I was working for a company. I was a CRO. We were using BANT. We had a script, if you will, more of a process that the BDRs were following. I was listening to a call to do coaching, and the prospect said to my BDR, "Are you banting me?" And the entire tone of the call changed after that. So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I went and listened to a bunch of other BDR calls from different people, and at the same point in the process, the tone of the call would change, and it was around the budget question.
Mm-hmm.
So we really put some thought into it, and the framework that I came up with is these 4W questions. And the first question is, what happened? And by the way, there's a key component to this, which is you ask the question and then you shut up. You stop talking and you let the prospect talk until they're done talking. We had one call we recorded. The prospect went 11 minutes. 11 minutes. We knew everything we needed to know by the end of the time the prospect was done. But what we're looking for is the thing that broke, not the business problem. The business problem comes next. So what happened is what happened that you reached out to me or my company to have this conversation. Because nobody just wakes up in the morning and says, today's the day I'm going to buy an integration solution. That does not happen. Right? So put
I
that out of
agree.
your minds. Today's the day I'm going to buy an AI solution. Nope. Not at all. Somebody said, you have got to solve this problem. So then the next question is, why do you need to take action now? That's the business problem. There's something that we cannot do or that we need to do, and I have to solve it. The third question is, who owns the project? Not who's the decision maker. Who owns the project? Meaning, who is the senior executive that said, Mike, you have to go fix this, and you have to go fix it right now or in a time frame, which is the fourth W. We'll get to that in a second. In today's world, if I have a catalyst and I have a senior executive that has said go fix it, I have a qualified opportunity. No one has time anymore, right? This is what we hear all the time. I don't have time to talk to you. No senior executive is going to say, Mike, I want you to go out and get 9 proposals for this AI solution, and I'm going to look at, I'll sit through the demos, I'll review the proposals for the top 3, and then we'll decide in 2027. That is not happening. So, and then the fourth question is, when do you need to be in production? Not when are you buying. When are you buying creates a bad forecast. Right? The close date, we all know it moves, and it can move by a lot. But if there's an actual date for when they have to go live or showing a result, now I have a date that's maybe it'll move a little bit, but it's not going to go from July to January. And if it does, I have questions that I get to ask, legitimately, rightfully ask the questions. So that's why the 4W. So what happened? Why now? Who owns the project? When do you need to be in production? That tells you if you have a qualified opportunity. That's your first call, by the way. Very first call with a prospect. No demos, no proposals, no pricing, no nothing. Those 4 questions.
This is amazing. When I believe if you know this, and if salespeople are asking these questions, I used to listen to a lot of calls. I know that they were not asking straight away going to the demo, and if I know this, all the pre-qualification, or prospecting, creating ICP, everything will become super easy, because I have heard four other calls and I know what exactly happened and why they have chosen us. If I know that, I could definitely find some more customers or pain points like that. So qualifying pipeline will become much more easier if during the discovery call, if we are asking this four question. This is what I could imagine. This is
We
amazing.
shouldn't even be doing a discovery call without the answers to those four questions. And back to
Absolutely, I love them. I really love them.
the first question of like the overall pipeline. If you have a deal that's been sitting for a period of time or is not in the closing sequence, especially if you're a sales leader or revenue leader or CEO who's just taken over an organization, the first thing you want to do is one of the first things is validate your forecast, validate your revenue. And all of those deals that are not in, like literally in process, you want to ask the rep those four questions. What happened? Why? And if they can't answer it, stop, consider that deal not qualified, and have your rep go back to the prospect and ask the four questions.
I just going deeper a little down. I want to ask you. So, is this for any kind of B2B service? Is it, whether it's a low ticket or high ticket, or this is specifically for? It's for any. What
Yeah,
do you? What,
we've used the framework from $1,200 a month solutions to 7-figure deals, and it's the same. The thing that's important is it's a conversation. It's not a script, right? But it works for everything. It actually even works to an extent I wrote about this back in November, December for buying a car. You walk into a car dealership, like people don't just wake up, some do, I guess, wake up in the morning and say, I think I'll go buy a car today. There's usually a reason why somebody is standing in the showroom. And I can tell you across I think it was 12 different salespeople that I talked to, not one person said, gee, just out of curiosity, what happened that you came to the dealer? One did ask why I was thinking about buying a new truck. That was it. Others were just like, they had a few very basic questions and then wanted my driver's license to take a picture of it and give me keys to it. I didn't buy anything, by the way. I was a no decision.
what do you think about using AI in sales? What is right and what is wrong? What is your opinion? Where should we use AI? Where should we not? Everybody is nowadays using AI and they are creating pipeline generating. So,
Yeah,
what is
so
your opinion about that?
I'm an AI enthusiast. There's just a world of amazing possibility that comes from AI. Places where I think you should definitely be using it: content creation at the rep level. You should be able to create your own content. You should like product marketing, waiting for product marketing, or like you should create custom content for the prospect that you're talking to. Being able to do research. And this has gotten a little bit better in my experience, but it's still far from good. And that is, you should not, and I mean emphatically, not get on a sales call without having run through AI, Perplexity or Gemini, preferably for me, the person that you're talking to and their company. Tell me about like the prompt is simple. Tell me about ComMotion sales, and it will tell you. What do you know about Michael Muhlfelder? And it will tell you. But you also need to be able to look at that critically, because I will tell you, there was one tool that I didn't mention that I did that prompt, who is Michael Muhlfelder, and it totally hallucinated and created me. And like this whole, like with a whole backstory. So you have to make sure that that the information you're getting seems correct, so that you don't come to the sales call and say, "Oh, so how long were you in investment banking? What was that like?" Like, I was never in investment banking. I don't know what you're talking about. Now your credibility's gone. But using it for research is critical. Using AI to detect signals in terms of people coming to your website, things that are happening in the market or markets that you serve. Phenomenal to do that. Using AI to make sure that fields are populated. Okay, I can see value in that, but you probably should have that figured out already. Uh, Using AI for validating forecasts, I would say that's a very high risk thing to do, and here's why. Forecasts change, deals change because of human behavior. If your AI is looking at things like, oh well, we have emails going back and forth. We had these meetings. I was like, they have a proposal. They all things are the prospect is saying all good things. So yeah, I'm putting this on my forecast. I'm putting it on my commit. But you're not validating or understanding what's the content of and context of the emails. Just because we're talking back and forth doesn't mean that those are good conversations. They may not even be buying conversations. There may be information in there, and this is a great use of AI. Are they asking questions that are being planted by your competitors? So there's using AI to record calls and to audit the transcript. Awesome, great use case. But if you're thinking about turning AI over as your co-pilot for your deals, I think you may have a problem. Now, here's the caveat. I'm testing the market right now. I don't know what I'll get for results to find out about this. I'm asking people. In fact, I've got a poll running today on LinkedIn for the next couple of days about if your fiscal quarter was March 31. How did you do? Did you make your number? Did you not? Are you using AI? Are you not? I have a hypothesis as to what the result is going to be, and we'll see. But I think what we're going to find out is that people are still not going to be able to come back and say, we deployed AI and we crushed our number. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I love this. And I'm using a lot of AI tools for the research and also for creating a content. But where a human has to be there, we have to be there. And when there is an analysis needed, the analysis has to be like, under the in humans hand even now. So yes, I'm researching also. I'm building a lot of AI agents, not like AI agent, a lot of AI workflows. But
Mhm.
yes, there I know that there are some places where I have to do the hard work, and it's not going to go anywhere, I think, even for a few more
So,
years.
so Meg, this is a huge thing right now, and it's one of the places where I do like get very, I tend to get emphatic about certain things. Like if I'm very confident and certain of things, I will be emphatic, and I'm emphatic about this. In B2B selling, it is a human to a human, or a human to several humans. It's not machine to machine. It's not human to machine. That's what Amazon and Temu. That's what we do online. Maybe transactional B2B, you can do that. But for the type of work that I get involved with, and from what I think most people who will view your podcast are involved in, where it's deals that are 12, 15,000 ARR to seven-figure ARR, that's humans. And AI does not replace the human to human interaction. And you have to be able to do that. And you have to allow a conversation and be value add in that conversation, or I don't need to talk to you. And if you're just going to tell me as the salesperson the same thing that I found on AI when I was doing my own research, I need to talk to you. I already have the answers to my question. I got it on AI before I even talked to you. So you have to be
I
value add.
Yeah, and that is why I see a lot of in-person events are booming these days. Meetings are booming these days instead of generic content publishing on LinkedIn, social media, or even
Mhm.
on web. Many people prefers, okay, let's see if the person is real or not, and then the conversation is moving forward. So I agree.
Authenticity is what they're
Let's
looking
move on to the next question now. When you mentioned that you're providing the service as a fractional sales leader or VP of sales service or fractional CRO, a founder listening right now is probably wondering, a fractional, is this for me or should I hire somebody for full time? How
So
does that person should recognize that he should go fractional? He should hire a fractional or a full-time CRO.
so there's a it's a little bit hard to really identify the thing. Here's what I can tell you, that what I've seen and what I'm getting, talking to private equity folks in particular, because that's I'm orienting a little bit more to PE. So my core market are funded in production founder led businesses, meaning you're somewhere 3 to 5 million of ARR or more, or companies that are private equity backed. You do not need a CRO when you're under, I would say even under 5 million ARR. You do not need a CRO. That is a very, very expensive overhead. We're talking about salaries that are $250 to $350,000 plus the variable plus equity. And you should not be giving up equity at that stage of your business for someone who's probably only going to be with you for a year and a half. Most businesses in the true startup are going to churn a lot of people. They're going to churn a lot of leaders. So you want to hold equity. You don't want to give up equity to somebody who's after a year and a half, and you can't get it back, and they're just waiting for you to do something with your company. So one is it's an efficiency, a cost efficiency. The other is you are looking for and need the experience of people who have actually built and worked in startups. So no offense to my brethren at companies like IBM and Salesforce and Oracle, what have you. If that's on their resume, but they haven't actually built a business, that's not who you want, right? You need somebody who's built it and knows how to build process and rebuild and re-engineer. I would say you don't even need a VP of sales. So the fractional, for me, the VP of sales as a service is somebody who is putting in, depending upon what you need, anywhere generally from 8 to 24 hours per week, far more experienced, generally speaking, than when you would be able to hire full time. If you fall in love with that person or they're the right person, you can maybe convert them to full time, and if not, at the end of whatever the period, 90 days, 180 days, 1 year, you end the contract and you go get somebody else. So that's one use case. And by the way, that can also apply. You can be a $20 million business to say, okay, I had a CRO and that CRO wasn't working out. I need somebody different. Same rule. Before you go and hire somebody, consider bringing in a contract sales leader. First off, if nothing else, to validate where you are and what's been built for you. You may have a sales problem to the point of this podcast. It's a sales process issue, and you're just continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again and not make your number. You hire somebody else, and maybe they come in with their own playbook. In fact, they probably will come in with their own playbook. And now you're starting everything all over again. So get somebody to validate is a good use case. The other places where I do work is not necessarily as the CRO or head of sales, but as a point solution, which is why I bill myself as a VP sales as a service. You may have a CRO, you may have a head of sales, but still have a problem in your go-to-market. So one of the projects I worked on was a business that had about 600 customers. They had never done any meaningful upsell or cross-sell. Private equity backed, and they said, well, we need to build an expansion engine. So I did a 90-day project to build an expansion engine, get everybody aligned, make sure that it worked. The process was built into Salesforce. I exited. They brought in a new VP of sales, and that new VP of sales is running the engine. So it's almost a year later, and they do more revenue from customer than they do from new logo.
I love this. A last question now. A founder listening right now and who has just missed their quarter, trying to figure out what is the problem, if that's a pipeline problem, if it's their team problem, if it's a process problem. What is the advice would you give it to them Yeah, what they should look at it and what how they should move ahead. They've just missed their quota.
They just missed their quota. So, well, if it's your first quarter, you've got probably one more. Well, you probably have one quarter to fix it. Um, you want to go back to the beginning, right? You want to go back to the beginning of all of those deals. Do not a win analysis. Do a loss analysis. Hire a firm if you have to go and survey the deals that you lost or went to no decision, and understand why that happened. See if you can dial into, is it a sales process issue? Is it a product issue? Is it positioning? Do you not understand a competitor? Like, that's all the information that you need. It's like you won't diagnose much from winning, but you will from losing. So that's one thing I would recommend. Next thing is, again, go back to the beginning and understand of the deals that are still in your pipeline and the deals that were lost. Were they qualified against the four questions? I will suggest to you that you'll find that they were not, and that you were running deals that weren't qualified, weren't buying anything. You consumed a lot of effort and cost to get to the no decision. And that will also tell you where do you want to now put your energy in the current quarter and following quarters. And you have to be unemotional about it. The,
Emotional about it.
your reps will be very emotional, as they should be, but you need to be clinical, like a doctor, to understand why did you miss. And by the way, that there will be implications across other functions. You may uncover product issues, marketing issues, may end up becoming HR issues, and if you're the actual leader of sales, CRO, SVP sales, what have you, you need to make sure that your peers on the executive leadership team know what you're doing, so that when you come back to them with the results, you're not surprising people, and people are ready to take action. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is, as the head of sales, you're going to get fired, and maybe in 3 or 4 quarters, average tenures 18, 19 months. So if you missed your number, I've been there. You got to fix it.
I love this. Thank you so much, Mike. It was a wonderful conversation. I'm sure it's going to be much more useful, so much useful for my listeners and all the founders out there, all the CROs out there. It's great value, and your experience really it's highlighted very well. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn, that
Sure.
guy right there,
Yeah.
or Calm Ocean Sales. You can book a meeting with me, no cost, no obligation, totally confidential, and we can have a conversation.
Absolutely. Love this indeed.